Okay, once again, this video gets no intro. I apologize for the background. You might hear my kid crying because he had to go to class. So he doesn't want to be in class and he's crying. But we're in two different places. We're in two different parts of the world right now. I know you're like, he's right there. No. He's not right there. He's at school. So, let's finish this chapter. I'm going to make this be the rest of chapter 2. It was past 3 a.m. when Naz's truck pulled into the yard. Barney heard go for a bark and woke instantly. She looked from the bedroom window as Naz pulled around to the back of the house. With the truck lights on, he untied the lifeless deer from the bed of his pickup and dragged it toward the shed. Godfrey rushed out of the dog door, panting excitedly and zigzagging around Naz's large boots as he struggled to haul the dead weight. Get on, Godfrey, he ordered. Bonnie thought about going out to the shed, but she hated to see the gutted carcass strung up over the center beam and left to bleed into a trunk below. She slipped on her robe and went into the kitchen, where she poured a large glass of ice water. All was the first thing Naz wanted when he got home. Bonnie enjoyed tending to her husband after one of his trips. Though she fussed and complained about how bad he smelled, she secretly loved waking early on the morning of his return, helping him bathe and listening to him talk about his trip. She sat in the kitchen window waiting. After a while, he appeared in the door of the shed, his wide shoulders filling the entire frame. Naz's strength, his stature, had always been a sight to Bonnie. 13 years ago, it was this same strong cut of a man that so struck her when he ran out onto the basketball field in Ponce de Leon Park. Bonnie's father, Wilbur Grosson, had traveled as far west as Texas and even gone east of Virginia to see teams play in the Southern Negro League. Bonnie never thought much about baseball when her mother, Eleanor, was alive. Wilbur had taken his weekend junkets while Bonnie and Eleanor spent the days baking, sewing, or just talking. As a child, Bonnie could talk to Ellie Grayson about most anything. At age 10, surely it was nothing more than about school or maybe a boy or two that might have caught her fancy. And her mother always listened with patience and a tiny smile. A smile that Bonnie knew revealed how proud she was of her daughter. But Bonnie's world was suddenly devastated when Ellen Grayson died of influenza. Bonnie was only 12. Over the years, she struggled to hold on to all that she could remember about her mother. But most of her recollections became like out of focus snapshots. Except that Bonnie recalled her mother's laughter, high-pitched and unbridled, the way Emily smelled like warm yellow cake, and the way she gently plaited Bonnie's hair in two flat, shiny braids. After Eleanor's death, Wilbur insisted on taking Bonnie to the ball games when baseball season arrived. Several ladies from the Piney Grove Church knew that ballpark was hardly the place for a young girl. But only occasionally did Wilbur agree to leave his daughter behind to play the house with Gerard Clayton's girl, Thora, Minnie Maybrier's daughter, Diane. Wilbur wanted to share his passion with his only child. So Bonnie sat in the ballparks, watching the people watching the game. For her, this was more interesting than baseball itself. She ate peanuts, drank pop, and measured the inches between the edge of the bleachers and the tip of one Mary Jane shoe. Every once in a while, her father rose to cheer. She paid attention to the game. But all Bonnie saw were men running around the field or sliding towards a boiled-up sack in a cloud of red dust. On those exciting plays, the thrill of baseball began to get to her. After a while, Bonnie started to understand how the game worked. By the time she was 17, she knew the players and their stats as well as any boy her age. But it wasn't until the afternoon at Ponce de Leon Park in Georgia that her real love for the game began. The Atlantic Black Crackers, one of Wilbur's favorite teams, were being slaughtered by the Birmingham Black Borers. Then the Atlanta team sent out a picture that most hadn't seen before. That's him, Bonnie, Wilbur said excitedly. That boy grew up in the next country over from us, raised right there in the Three Sisters show enough. Bonnie heard about this Natharis Wilder, born in Port of Wales. Though he only pitched for the Black Crackers for a season, Bonnie had seen grainy pictures of the young man in the paper more than once. But this was the first time she actually got to see him play. Strike him out, Nash, someone called. Get on with it, boy, her father called. 6'4", Nash Wilder was tall enough to command the blue skies as his backup. His chest was like a wall, and his shoulders like two strong shells. But what impressed Bonnie most was that he played an amazing game. Nash Wilder had dominated that season. Sadly, that was the last time. On the first game of his third season, Avery Rommel of the Nashville Elite Giants hit a line drive straight at the pitcher's mouth. It had all happened so fast. Avery snapped the ball and took off running. As it wasn't until he got to second base that Bonnie realized Nash had toppled over and hit the ground. The ball had caught him in the left leg, shattered his kneecap. Nash finally came out of the shed. He turned off the truck lights and met Bonnie on the back porch. "What you get?" she asked, handing him the glass of ice water. Small buck, old though," he said after taking a drink. "Meat probably be tough. Red mud that crusted around his fingers mixed with the sweat from the glass." Nash offered him a swallow. "Oh no," she laughed. "Why? 'Cause you smell like a polecat," Bonnie grins. "You know you love me like this." Nash planted a wet kiss on her lips. Bonnie shrank from the gammies and the spots of blood on his clothes. "Now I got to bathe too," she accused. "We'll do it together." "I'd rather bathe with the bucket in the shed," she laughed. Nash sat on the porch rocker and Gopher rushed to sit at his feet. Bonnie moved behind his chair and gently knitted his shoulders. He welcomed her hands as she smoothed the soft wave that swirled in the crown of his close-cut hair. Mom. "Ain't making no more discoveries, I hope," she asked. "Thank the Lord, no," he said. "And Jim Muir, he come along with us on a hunt." "Anything new on the child?" Nash shook his head no. "Ain't found nothing. Ain't found nobody. Dear father," she whispered. Nash finished the water and hid out the glass for Bonnie to refill. "Pa saying most probably some young girl that left that child," he called us. She went to the kitchen. "And he don't think it was nobody from around here. Why? Somebody would have known something by now. Sheriff office think maybe a girl from out of another country. Mississippi, Georgia even." Bonnie quickly rinsed the glass and refilled it. When she came back out, Nash handed her a tiny brown bag. Whenever he returned from his trip, he always bought Bonnie a gift. Usually something small, but enough to say that he'd been thinking about her. She opened the sack and pulled out a kitchen magnet, shaped like a daisy. "I'm going to have a new set of these before the year's out," she said, kissing the top of his head. Bonnie was happy to continue rubbing his shoulders when Nash stood up. "I know you ain't about to walk into my house with them filthy clothes," she scolded. "Damn it, Bonnie. And you need to take them boots off." Nash muttered the whole time. But like an obedient child, he sat down and unlaced the muddy shoes. She lifted each one like a dead skunk and heaved it over the railing. Then Bonnie went in and ran a hot bath. She threw in a eucalyptus soap with a scent so strong it made her eyes water. He walked into the bathroom butt naked and slowly lowered himself into the slutty water. His body barely fit into the tub until he propped his feet on either side. Time was the sight of Nash naked made Bonnie stop and take a breath. Now she could only regard his privates, which she used to make her blush, as exactly what God had intended them for. Mommy. Procrastination. She sighed in frustration. Why was Thora always right? Bonnie's fixation on having a child had cooled her love life. 12 years ago, when she finally met Nash Wilder face to face, Bonnie thought that he was the most beautiful man that she had ever laid eyes on. But so did every other single woman in the Three Sisters. She recalled when Archie McCoy, pastor from the New Hope Baptist Church in Partwell, had visited Piney Grove. The congregation looked forward to his arrival. And not just because of Reverend McCoy's innocent presence, but because Nas Wilder, a deacon in his church, would surely be one of the entourage accompanying the Reverend on his visit. That morning, ladies in the congregation, married or no, were decked out in fine reviews reserved for weddings or Easter Sundays. Bonnie herself wore her favorite green linen dress with a scoop neck and two tails that gathered on her shoulders. Her hair, modest and short, was swept from her face and flipped in back. At 18, Bonnie liked the way she looked. Surely she wasn't the prettiest girl in Piney Grove. The distraction went to Reese Collins, who everyone claimed looked like Lena Horne. Certainly Bonnie wasn't the most glamorous. Hands down, that award went to Thora Dean. Then Thora claimed. But Bonnie had confidence in what her father had called a quiet beauty. Okay, I'm back, y'all. Ugh, where did I go, y'all like? When she looked in the mirror, Bonnie saw her mother's dark eyes and fleshy lips, but she also saw her daddy's slightly wide nose and strong, square chin. Bonnie had no hopes of actually talking to Nas Wilder. She would be too shy, but perhaps she'll get to see him up close and maybe even shake his hand. The seats were so packed that Bonnie and her father couldn't sit in their own pew. Second from the front, they inched their way down the aisle as the church quickly filled in the middle and the back. Ain't seen half these people at church before, Woodward had complained. Now they show up and take God-fearing folks' place. Crying damn shame. Don't curse in church, Daddy, Bonnie whispered as she straightened the collar over his tie. Woodward's brow remained creased for the most of Reverend McCoy's service. She knew that her father was excited at having Nas Wilder at Piney Grove, but he hated sitting so far in the back. Bonnie understood his frustration. Two of the Bell sisters, who only attended church on Christmas, sat right up front. Larnie Hans, who usually made her husband come to church by himself, was sitting right beside him today. Miss Simpkins, who complained that her arthritis made her too crippled to walk, looked as strong as ever. And more surprisingly was that Thora, who always arrived late, got there early and sat all puffed and powdered in the pew right along Reverend McCoy's containment. Bonnie could only glimpse Nas Wilder in the first pew. He sat his cane in the aisle and his leg obviously braced under his pants, which remained extended straight out in front of him. Though he looked reserved, Bonnie could feel his power even from the back of the church. Funny that with all that hubbub of his presence, the man appeared calm, almost shy. He didn't seem flamboyant, and certainly didn't flaunt his good looks or his stature. When the service ended, Wilbur was the first to hurry down to the church basement, where the ladies' welcoming committee had set up 4 long picnic tables with white cloths and paper plates. The scent of buttermilk biscuits and fried chicken would usually make Bonnie ravenous after so long a service, but the thought of Nas Wilder might soon be sitting at her same table gave her a jittery stomach. She could see Wilbur trying to figure out where Nas might sit. The answer was easy. The table had most of the food on it, including a side of roast beef and Mary Hartland's sought after potato salad. Wilbur sat down near the middle of the table and pulled Bonnie over. Moments later, heavy feet rumbled down the basement stairs. Bonnie felt her heartbeat quicken, but relaxed a bit when Reverends Duncan and McCoy, their wives, and several deacons flooded the room. Then Nas appeared, flanked by 2 of the pastors and boys and more than a few ladies from their congregation. Bonnie had to take a breath at the sight of the man this close. His shoulders were wide, and he was so tall that he had to bow his head to keep it from brushing the low ceiling. Dora gestured for Bonnie to save a seat beside her as Nas and the Reverend sat at Bonnie's table. By the time Thora got there, it was already full. Thora simply took a chair from another table and squeezed in beside her friend. After several blessings by every holy man in the room, the meal finally began. And as expected, the men talked baseball while the women listened. Most seemed content just sitting in Nad's presence. The boy Edgar Bayer hit .369, Deacon Jenkins said. .379, Reverend McCoy declared. That boy form, Bonnie whispered to Thora. It's .389. Lordy, glad. Throw giggled. How your man hold all that mess? Deacon Jenkins went on. I know it was 369 because that year 379. Miss Reverend McCoy cut in. Deacon Jenkins said, "I might not know scripts like I know like I should, but I know me some baseball, and that there was 369 sure enough. It was 389." Thor put in. Raven Sunday stops chewing. "What you say, woman?" he asked. "Barney here say it was 389. Thor said. Nas looked at Thor. She seemed thrilled by the attention. "Bonnie?" Nas asked. Thor grabbed Bonnie's arm and raised it up. Bonnie felt so shy with Nas' eyes on her that she wanted to crawl under the table. "Ain't too many people know it like that," Nas said. "Especially ladies. I guess that's my fault," Wilbur admitted. "I raised Bonnie on my own after her mama passed." "And you did a fine job," Mrs. Reverend Sunday added. Wilbur faced dark face softened. "Thank you, ma'am," he said. Bonnie nodded at the Reverend's wife. "But I have to admit," Wilbur went on, "that I dragged this girl from pallet to post to see all kinds of games." "Daddy," Bonnie whispered, trying to stop him from talking. She was already as embarrassed as she could be. "And sometimes," Wilbur went on, "she learned things what only men should know." "Charlotte don't look like a man," Ned said respectfully. He must have sensed how embarrassed Bonnie was, for he felt the need to explain. "Just that, well, most ladies that can recite baseball stats," he stuttered a bit, "well, they got more hair on their arms than me. The room lasts." "You a mess, Nas," Thora said, batting her lashes. "May I ask your daughter a question, sir?" Nas said to Wilbur. "Ask Bonnie whatever you want." Bonnie felt her heart would bust. She was mortified at the tension, but at the same time accelerated. "Before I ask," Nas said to Bonnie, "you got to promise me one thing." "Sorry," Bonnie said. "I not girl," and asked Mom. "Please don't call me sir. Your daddy, he is sir. I'm just plain on Nas." All at once it hit Bonnie that Nas Wilder was actually talking to her. He was looking at her, smiling that amazing smile that she had seen more than once in the local papers. "What I got to promise," she said softly. A few men laughed. "You got to promise to tell me the truth," Nas said. "Bonnie is as honest as the day is long," Wilbur insisted. "The truth about what?" Bonnie asked. Nash shifted his body to look directly at her. "I want you to tell me," he started. Who you think was the best pitcher in the leagues between, say, 1938 and 1956? But you can't say me," he put in. Bonnie held her head down as she thought. When she looked up, every eye in the room was on her. She felt nervous, not only that she had Nas Wilder's attention, but also the interest of the reverends, deacons, wives, ushers. "Well," she started. "Can't say me," Nas repeated. "I wasn't," she said. The room roared. Nas' laughter was as loud as any. Bonnie finally answered. "Van Eddie." A collective groan told out among the men. The women looked around as if they were all speaking another language. Nas' expression remained thoughtful. "What about Bobby Spencer?" Reverend McCoy said. "Boy, ain't nothing next to Satchel Paige," Deacon Lewis put in. "Satchel won. He won for sure. Satchel good, all right," Wilbur called out. "Flashy and fast as night." Nas quieted the man by simply raising his hand. Then he said to Bonnie, "God, why in the world would you pick Van Eddie? Van ain't no joke," Horace Dean defended. "Might have picked him myself." "Excuse me, gentlemen," Miss Reverend Sunday cut in, "but there are other ladies present in this room." "Amen," tidily Royce called. "We regret we don't know nearly as much as baseball as Bonnie," Miss Reverend Sunday went on. "But we do have questions of our own for Nas." A wave of feminine voices rose in agreement. As the conversation continued, Bonnie sat quietly. Nas gracefully answered the woman's questions, which mostly concerned when he was going to settle down with a good woman, and if he stayed in the Three Sisters, and how many children he wanted to have, and if he was looking for a God-fearing girl. But every so often, Bonnie would find Nas' eyes on her. She never felt so special. She could feel the hum of his laughter and vibrating inside of her. Still vibrating inside of her. And she had to take a breath at the thought that the questions he had asked had much intensity, as he had offered to any other man. Bonnie was suddenly thankful to Wilbur for insisting that she come to all those games. That afternoon, she felt herself floating. A blow of the buttermilk biscuits and sliced roast beef, a blow of grammar restorer, pretty Everest, Cloris, Miss Reverend Sunday, the Bell sisters, and all the other ladies. All above Daddy Warble, who sat as proud as a big red rooster. This was Bonnie's afternoon. This was her time. And the only day that felt more exciting was the day that she married Nas Wilder. Bonnie shook her husband and awakened her to her. He often fell asleep until her gentle massage and soothing version in the stormy weather. The soapy water swirled around the black ringlets of hair on his chest. She ran the washcloth over his leg and past the jagged scar on his knees. Groggy and content, Nance finally pulled himself up, patted himself dry, and slipped into his pajama bottoms. He lay down beside her in the bed. Just seconds later, his eyes opened. She thought he would fall asleep now and stay asleep until at least noon. Reverend Duncan would send a harsh word home, and some would ask if Niles was all right, but most would understand if he didn't make church the next day, for most of the brethren from the same hunting trip would be likewise absent. She herself was beginning to doze when he reached out to hold Bonnie. His eyes fluttered open, and he pulled her close. Soon his shifting became urgent. Bonnie could suddenly feel his indecision about what he needed more, sleep or her. What she think, he whispered. His breath on the back of her neck made her body tingle. Mm-hmm, she replied. Nash yanked down his vagina bottoms, then slipped her panties off and pulled her cotton gown up around her head. Bonnie felt her breath catch in her chest as her husband lifted himself on top of her. She prayed that as she rocked beneath him, his passion, her prayers, the light of the moon, anything might lead to a child. It was the wonder of a baby that hurt so bad, the yearning. It was feeling her own flat stomach against her palm and knowing that time was passing. So even now, as Nas moved deeply inside her, the only desire she felt was that he filled the empty space inside her womb and her heart. Nas quickened his pace. Just when she felt his body begin to mount toward the place he loved, she gripped him around the waist, rolled over, and flipped herself on top. Bontini, he yelled. His voice was filled with as much shock as helpless pleasure. The sight of Bonnie on top of him, her hair falling into his face, her body bending so that her nipples brushed his cheek, was all too much. His legs stiffened and his head fell back on the pillow. Nance cried out from the bottom of his soul. Bonnie had never seen her husband react this way, but it was real. There was passion. She had stirred things up. Nance lay beneath her, too exhausted to move. Bonnie didn't budge. She dared not deserve the spawning angels and stayed draped across his body. In the quiet, she could feel Nance wondering about her behavior. Nance lifted her, and she slipped into her place beside him. He slowly sat up and swung his legs to the sides of the bed and leaned forward with his head in his hands. How you think to do something like that, he asked. Just come to me, I guess, she said. Ain't nothing ever come to you like that before. She sat up and rubbed his back. Nance was quiet for a moment, like he was deep in thought. Then he said, don't think I like you like that. Seemed like you like it just fine. Bonnie felt shy now, but still happy about what had happened between them. He shook his head no. It ain't for you, Bonita. What? That kind of thing. It ain't for you. Bonnie felt confused. Seems like you really liked it. No? Are you sure? She asked. Yes, ma'am. I am sure. That kind of thing, it ain't for no decent woman. Decent woman, thought Bonnie. Thor was a decent woman, and surely her and Horse's private life was filled with intimate moments. Decent woman? Bonnie pulled the sheet over her naked chest. Her husband, the man she loved most in the world, had suddenly made her feel cheap, common. Nance slid back in bed and turned his back. Bonnie felt hurt and confused. Their love making was different, yes. Yet, what of the excitement in her husband just moments ago? Nance reached this moment full of more fire than they had in years. Bonnie shut her eyes. Maybe it wasn't her place to change things. Maybe he didn't like it. But she did. Whether Nance wanted to admit it or not, there was he. Yet his back faced her like a closed door. Bonnie wasn't quite sure how she should feel right now. But pain and confusion aside, she prayed that the fire might finally fill her womb with life. Okay, y'all, this ad is brought to you by the whoop de 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 whoop dee whoop, 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 whoop. Love going out? Love eating out? Hey, waiting? Then sign up for Time Cop. We pay you for the time you lose waiting on your food to get ready. If you're quick enough, we pay you while they walk to you. We pay you from the time you order to the time you receive your food. To the time you receive your food. Oh my God. Oh my God. Boop-de-boop. Boop-de-boop. Think of it as clocking in and clocking out. Disclaimer! It takes 45 minutes to receive for them to bring you your food. Boom, de boom, de boom, de boom. Shake it, what your mama gave you. Boom, de boom, de boom, de boom. Boom, de boom, de boom, de boom. Boom, de boom, de boom, de boom. Bounce, 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 bounce. Okay, I'm done. We almost done. As we near the end, I decided that I wanted to do something different. I know y'all just saw me read the bed, but don't worry about it, because y'all might not even make this far. But if you do, nope, you know what? We out. We're not even doing that right now. This the end. This is the end of this. After a while, my kid decided that he wants to just go to class. I know. I happily finished the chapter. So my kids in class. Run back. Why did I leave? Go back to my office. Ooh, yes. Ooh, office space. Yes, office space. Okay. So once again, like, subscribe, comment. You ain't really got to subscribe. I want you to get to know me, and I want to get to know you. Make sure we are fit for each other. You might not like me. I really don't care about. I might not, know you. So, you want to fix that, and I want to fix that. Let's work together, teamwork. You don't want me breaking into your house and putting Taquise personalized on your TV on repeat, because I got over 1,000 VCOs. So I'm ready to attack and steal all your fucking furniture, except a fucking chair, so you guys have something to sit in and watch me be on your TV all fucking day, because we taking the remote. So think about it.